Chris, on the high-pack map right now that's in the quad view, how big is each of those segments?
So each of the lines is 5-meter increments. So from where we are now to the peak, what is that? Should be about 30 or so meters of elevation to go.
Very cool. And Steve, do we think all of these white corals are that same type of precious coral?
Yeah, I think so. You know, there are more species in this genus of Pleurocorallium, but what I've observed, I've sampled these things a bunch down on the equator west of here, and they all seem to be the same species of Pleurocorallium porcellanum.
Very cool. Speaking of species names and group names, did you hear me trying to pronounce the urchin?
Yeah.
How did I do?
All right. All right.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So another name for those is the deep sea long spine sea urchin.
Oh, and so you gave me the long name instead.
Yeah, you know.
Deep sea long name urchin. Am I right?
Yeah.
Coming in.
So that's Aspidodiadematidae. Rolls off the tongue.
Aspidodiadematidae.
Yeah, it actually has a nice, you know, a little ring to it.
It does. It does.
That was my first try.
It's the 3 times the charm thing. So.
Aspidodiadematidae.
Aspidodiadematidae.
Boom.
So if you're familiar with like the Caribbean long spine sea urchin, Diadema, this is a distant relative in a different family, but also a long spined urchin.
Cool.
We are changing course to 100.
Roger.
So the Caribbean long spine sea urchin is has anyone ever seen one? If you've been snorkeling in the Caribbean, you've probably come across them at some time. They're really cool.
I've seen pictures, but not in person.
They're venomous, so if you get stung by them, you'll know it. But they've undergone some boom and bust cycles lately in the Caribbean as their numbers recover from a disease outbreak in the late 80s, early 90s, I think, around there.
Those long spines, are those, do they have any like chemosensory abilities, or is it mostly a like mechanical sensory?
Yeah, they actually, believe it or not, most sea urchins with the, is that an Oreo? There's an Oreo. To the left.
I've been hoping to see one of those.
There you go. I told you they get shallower. We'll see them when we get shallower.
Hey, zoom in.
Show us your Oreo eyes.
Whoa.
Yeah, so this is, we're saying Oreos, but they're not actually related to the cookies. They're just,
They're not the secret ingredient?
yeah, right? I feel like we should celebrate with some Oreos.
Do we have any on board?
I don't think so.
It would be a mega stuff Oreo.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty big one. So
Can I try and pronounce the name? I have it written down.
Oh yeah, sure.
Neositis acanthorianchus.
Well, you got the first one right.
Scooching out.
So let's take that as a win.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't actually know this different species, but I know it's Neositis, and the family name is Oreosomatidae, so that's why they're called Oreos.
Oh, is it because of the way the eyes look, or did I just conflate that?
Oh no, I don't think it has anything to do with the cookie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 4.
Uh-oh.
They're so graceful. So we've got Oreo, feather star, precious corals, lots of squat lobsters. Great dive so far.
And a shark.
That shark.
The shark was
It's
awesome.
too bad we couldn't get the shark. Yeah.
I'm gonna.
We still got some good footage.
Do we have a
of it,
second to
though.
zoom again?
Yeah, come on.
Did we get an ID on that shark?
I had to look at the video again, but I mean, we can check the guides, and we'll send some photos to some fisheries biologists to see what we can find.
I love how the Oreo's backing away.
I'm on the deck here.
Full wide.
I tried to look it up online, so I typed in deep sea shark, and all that came up was the top 5 coolest deep sea sharks, and none of them were it. It was just like the goblin shark, mega mouth, blunt nose, 6 gill.
All right, I believe
The classics.
At like 9 o'clock over there, if you have time, there's a single unbranched coral. Looks like 6 o'clock now.
Oh yeah.
Can we take a quick zoom on that?
Go ahead, video.
I have been seeing a few bamboos, so I just wanted to make sure it was a, yeah, this is a bamboo coral. Unbranched. So far I've seen one other unbranched bamboo whip. Unbranched bamboo. Good to get a close-up of it though. All right. I'm satisfied.
Roger. Full wide.
And if you're wondering around about those kind of pink arms that are wrapped around some of the corals that we've seen, that's brittle stars that are associated with those corals, sort of wrapped around and getting heightened up into the water to be able to grab some food. We've been seeing a lot more of these long sea cucumbers too, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, this,
Zoom in.
these must be the mountain lovers. We were seeing a bunch of the short, kind of stubby, blobby ones
Yeah.
down on the sediment.
Almost looks
but, yeah.
iridescent on the body.
These have legs, which make them good mountain climbers.
So are
No,
the
I'm
legs?
joking about that. It's not serious.
Okay, I was gonna say those legs
No,
are
yeah,
tentacles.
yeah.
Well, I know the sea pig. They kind of use them
Yeah,
like
full wide.
legs, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, it's actually absolutely true. They do use their legs, air quotes, for locomotion, but it's very slow going. This is actually an impressive density of these Pleurocorallium.
Do these corals like grow smaller, or do they all? Would you think that they're all sort of young?
You want to know the strange thing is, I've seen them elsewhere, and they do get maybe 30 centimeters tall, but
Mhm.
these are just really all stubby. which makes me think that maybe there's something that in their environment that's causing them to be stunted.
Mm-hmm.
Not stunted, but not growing very tall. Now what's really interesting, I would expect to see at these depths some stony corals too. And you can differentiate them pretty easily from the pleurocorallium, but I haven't seen any yet, which is a little concerning.
So these are areas that you would expect to see them.
Yeah, between 500 and at most 1500 is
Yeah.
kind of the peak for deep sea scleractinians. Of course, you get shallow water scleractinians if you get much shallower. But yeah, I haven't seen any yet. The big ones we see out here are Analopsemia and Madrepora. They're quite colorful sometimes. At least Analopsemia is bright yellow.
Mm-hmm. This one looks a little bit bigger. Still sort of short.
I've seen this kind of
Zoom in there.
pleurocorallium garden once before off of, racking my brain now. It was on the Tokelau Ridge somewhere. So it's not that unusual,
Full
really
zoom.
lumpy.
And so would that one to the left be closed up or no polyps?
That's correct. It's closed.
It's
Yeah,
closed
you
up.
see those mounds, the little lumps.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the polyps. They're just hemispherical
Uh-huh.
or mound-shaped compared to being open, where they're a little bit more columnar.
Yeah. Cool.
We've seen a lot of hemicorallium lately. This is the pink precious coral, but
I see a
Okay,
snail at
full
the
wide.
bottom, or at least a
Oh.
snail shell
Oh, it's a crab.
with a crab in it.
hermit crab.
Oh yeah.
Kind of wide.
I just got so excited.
Been waiting for a snail. You're not going to consider that a snail, though, right? Because it's not real? Just evidence?
I mean, it's real.
Well, it's not a real snail.
It was a snail.
It was evidence that there was a snail involved, but
It's like if we found bones, it would still be evidence of that animal, right? So I'll take it for now.
well, you're setting the bar kind of low. I want to see the
We do
body
get
of a
hermit crabs
snail.
once in a while, maybe on a rock or on a coral sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did just see a hermit crab, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looked like it to me. I mean, that's one of my favorite facts to like blow kids' minds. A lot of kids don't realize that the shells that hermit crabs lived in were made by snails. And I go out onto the floor of the museum with a bunch of shells and talk about that, and their minds are always blown.
Oreo.
Another fish.
Oreo. Yep.
Yeah, Oreo.
Yeah, they'll get pretty dense, you know. Sometimes, you know, I remember a couple dives where the Oreos were so dense they would just
Zoom
kind
in.
of photobomb you while you're trying to image something else, and really annoying.
Yeah, I really thought that the name Oreo came from those eyes.
I wonder if that's what helped, popularize it as a common name
Yeah.
at some point.
Nice shot.
Amazing flying.
Beautiful.
Creeping wide.
Yep.
Steve, we've got some viewers wondering why we would have seen some of those polyps closed up and some opened up on the same rock.
Yeah, it's unclear. You know, there's a couple of reasons why corals close up. It could just be that they had a particularly large meal and they're digesting it. It could be that you know, something had disturbed them. It's probably one or the other.
Ship's taking some time to adjust here, it seems.
Okay.
Another fish.
Looks like, is it an Oreo again?
I believe so.
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some larger coils to the left there.
Yeah, it is bigger today. Dime a dozen.
Hello.
Zoom in.
They are cute. And a squat lobster in the back there.
Beautiful motion on those fins.
Mm-hmm.
So we're almost there to waypoint 2. What do we got, like 60 meters maybe, more maybe?
Yep. We got the ship's just about on top of it, and then we got Argus and Herc trailing a little behind.
Just probably when we get to the top, the center of the top there, when the vehicles are right in the middle, we'll do a quick, you know, hold the ship and we'll do a quick scan to see if there's anything we want to collect. You want any rocks from this top there?
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I can grab one more if I see a nice one.
Okay.
Keeping an eye out.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
Roger
Maybe we'll
that.
get one with a call.
That's full wide.
Well,
I
You can go wider if you need
Careful
it.
what you wish for. These things are,
Hey!
these things are a nuisance. It's like herring. You know? If you ever tried to drive an ROV through a school of herring?
Yeah.
I
not
have,
nice,
yeah.
is it?
Or not drive it, but film it.
We're all in this together.
Or pollock, right? Pollock are just as bad. They see the lights from the vehicle and they just go crazy, feeding.
squids too, sometimes.
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
been,
Go ahead.
yeah, there's been a couple of recoveries where they've just gotten up to a certain level, and the squid just
Bombard, like bomb
Yeah.
dive with the vehicle.
Lots
Yeah.
of ink.
Yeah, we've had to do things before on here and with other vehicles where you've had to turn all the lights off Herc, leave them on Argus and try and get them to go up there so you can see for 3 minutes.
You can't see me.
Hercules stealth mode.
It's like trying to get the moths out of your house, you know? Like turn off your lights. I guess I should explain I don't have a screen on my window.
Oh, so there's a little bit of information here that I didn't know, which is actually really interesting and might explain another question that one of the viewers asked. And we had some information from Ken Sulak, who is a fish biologist on the shore, and he mentioned that Oreos in this genus are fish or are coral predators, and they nip at the polyps.
Ah.
Which might explain why their polyps are closed.
Maybe that's why there's these stocky corals around here. Could.
Yeah, maybe it limits their growth.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's really, yeah, it is really interesting because we don't, we know there are some predator-prey interactions between corals and sea stars or sea urchins. Those are the most common ones we see, but...
Can we look at some of these rocks over here on the right? About
On the right?
Yeah, close to the right to like 9 o'clock. Oh, sorry, I meant left.
That's
My other right.
That's what I thought you meant. On
Yeah.
the other right.
Yeah, we're just about the top here, so I'm going to hold position.
Okay.
Bridge now. Request
Zoom
we
in
hold
there a bit,
position.
video. Could this be a loose one?
Yeah, I like the ones right above the...
Like here?
Actually, that one right there is great. I think that can fit in a small bar box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, full wide, please.
Come wide.
Open the iris a bit.
Coming up. What's that swimming on the left?
I thought it was just debris at first, but it looks
Yeah,
like
I
it
don't
might
know.
be some type of worm.
Okay, zoom in.
Coming in.
And
This
a
11,
spot lobster.
11 centimeter rock.
That's a nice distinct shape.
Coming
Okay,
wide.
full wide.
It looks like rubbly bits, right? We can take a look after the rock sampling.
Those spot lobsters.
He's ready to defend his rock.
The shrimp too, you better watch out.
Oh.
Zoom in a little bit.
Oh, that one's bigger than we thought.
Ooh.
Wow. Oh,
Oh, I thought it was
yeah,
the
me
whole
too.
thing.
Still think you want it?
full wide.
Not really, because I want to save the big box for when we're on the next seam
Okay.
mount. So let's try to find another small one, maybe to the left.
I gotta go. Gotta go.
Oh, never mind.
If you want to keep looking in here, we can just step the ship back.
Well, do we want? Is that the one you wanted to sample?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
Was that it?
It kind of looks like a mitt. I don't know
Yeah.
what it was. Though.
Now.
No, that was the one we already did.
I think it, yeah, I think
Okay,
that
never
was,
mind. Yeah, so we can keep moving then.
20 meter
down.
step.
the polyp
Chris,
density
belay
on
that,
eight
we're gonna
chemical
go
ridge
ahead.
is a
Stand
little
by.
bit more.
Kevin, we're okay to go ahead?
Yeah, you can move ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
No sweat. Yeah, it's gonna pass on it.
Roger that.
So this fish in the upper right-hand corner,
Show me
it's
the
kind of
arm and the bubble
in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Ken was saying too that that particular fish uses a elongate pelvic rays kind of on the lower side of its body, kind of as feelers. As they go along the seafloor, they can feel for small prey items.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we've seen quite a few of these on this dive. We've also got some viewers
And,
wondering.
bubble back over the porch.
about the difference in growth rates between shallow water corals versus deep water corals?
Yeah, it's a common question, and it's one we don't really understand. So, you know, the racehorse corals of the shallow water world, like the acroporids, can grow in excess of 10 or more centimeters per year.
Mm.
But a lot of the corals we find in the deep sea are much more slow growing. Temperatures are cooler. Food may be a limiting factor on their growth. So we typically find deep water corals growing on the order of millimeters to centimeters per year at the most. So I think like some of the fastest growing deep water corals, stony corals, grow on the order of maybe 1 to 5 centimeters per year, or 2 to 5 centimeters at most, and that's much shallower. So I would expect things here to grow probably millimeters to a couple centimeters at most in that time.
Mm-hmm. And slow growth rates in the deep ocean is kind of across the board, right? Like things kind of tend to grow slower in colder, deeper environments, or
Yeah, that's right. It's temperature is a factor, and food supply is a factor.
mm-hmm.
But it's important to remember too that deep water corals are a diverse group, and some corals grow faster than others based on you know, which group they belong to. So, you know, precious corals are pretty slow growing, whereas stony corals might be a little bit faster growing. Can we zoom in onto this sediment to the left, this kind of mottled color?
Yeah.
While we're looking for a rock.
Go ahead, video.
I want to make sure that's, I thought it was rubble, and
Coming into a full zoom here.
it is rubble. That's a lot of rubble.
Yeah.
So that's stony coral rubble.
Oh wow! You
Yeah.
can see the sort of little branching bits.
Yeah, so that's really cool and promising, and I'm hoping we'll see some live material here. Our depth is now 1050 meters, so this seems to be right, and up on top of these promontories are usually where they find them. But so this looks like it could be a couple of things. I can't really identify it from the rubble, but it could be Analepsemia or Madrepora. We'll see once we get closer. But the fact that some of this is manganese crusted means that it's probably been here for a little while.
Mm.
All right.
Could it have been a large, community that, when as the seamount subsided, just died off, and now it's no longer down here? Just
It could be, but seeing that as it's kind of all in this little rut, this little flat plain, it's probably a debris field.
oh, okay.
When you say it's a little while, how many millions of years are we talking?
Yeah, probably hundreds of years, maybe.
So
Okay.
just a little while.
Yeah, just a little while.
To get a thin coat, probably like 100,000 years,
Wow.
but it varies a little bit depending on where you are.
Yeah, so in the bio world, they call this kind of biogenic rubble like pre-fossils.
Mm.
Eventually, if it becomes fully manganese coated, you know, it's protected from dissolution by seawater to some degree. So it could actually become a fossil and fossilized in the rock eventually,
Cool.
potentially.
As it gets more sediment built up on top of it and
Yeah,
such.
yeah. I'm not sure how easy it is for these deep sea sediments to form rocks, if they even do that.
Especially if it's a
They
lot
do.
of debris.
But it actually really, it takes a long time, and they really don't.
Yeah.
Unless you have really high sedimentation rates and you can bury it really deep.
Yep.
But they may become more lithified as you kind of get more phosphorization, phosphogenesis, and they form phosphorite bonds. But for the most part, they're going to be sediments.
Zoom in again.
Roger.
There's a shark in the Argus view, probably a cat shark based on its size and shape.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
the
it's
eye.
behind Hercules.
Can you come full wide?
So we should be on the lookout for a big stony coral outcrop up here and probably want to chase it down before we jump off this peak.
Sounds good.
And if there are none, that is interesting too, because that probably means that they were here at some time, they just disappeared, or maybe they were here when the seamount was at a shallower depth.
Mm-hmm.
I think on this expedition so far, we've been significantly deeper. I've only seen one total coral colony, stony coral colony. At 1530 meters, we saw Enelopsamia rostrata, which is about as deep as you find them in this area.
If you were to take a sample of that rubble, would you be able to date it in any way?
Yeah,
you can do uranium thorium dating.
Yeah.
What kind of dating did you say it was?
Uranium thorium.
Got
or
it.
uranium thorium lead, or lead.
Yeah, that's been used before to date corals. It also tells you something about when how old the coral is, and actually sometimes deep water corals have been used as climate
Good cheese
archives
bubble.
and climate. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, paleoclimate archives. Yeah.
So when corals lay down their skeleton, they take up the isotopes of the water surrounding them of certain elements. And so if you can date the coral and then analyze sections of the skeleton, you can tell what the environment was like when they were living.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You can also date them, very old ones at least, on the million-year timescale using strontium isotopes, because the seawater has a certain strontium isotopic composition, which has varied through time, and we have an independent archives of how it varied. So if you analyze it and it has a specific, strontium isotope, you can then match it up to that curve and get an age. That's how a lot of phosphorite deposits are dated, because they're on the 30 plus million year timescale.
Cool. And strontium nitrate gives you red fireworks.
Yeah.
Ship still moving, Chris?
Yeah, it is. It's doing kind of sideways back and forth as it tries to figure itself out.
Speaking of fireworks, happy 4th of July to the east coast of the United States, I think.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
11 minutes
Cool.
past midnight. EST. Hey, Kevin. What's the difference between fossilized and petrified?
That's a good question. They're essentially the same thing. So they both mean the organic material, whatever it was replaced by not inorganic material. So, where you had proteins and tissue, it was slowly replaced by silica and other compounds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially definitely what petrified means, and for the most part what fossilized means.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Is all this debris that we're seeing likely that rubble?
I'm guessing. But yeah, I haven't seen any
That's a
stony
cool little
coal.
feature.
Yeah, what's on the ridge of that little rock? Is that normal?
Bridge nav. One more step, please.
That's strange looking.
Yeah, it's a very odd rock feature. It might be, no, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
I'm also seeing like white specks kind of on the rocks. Are there barnacles that live at these depths?
Yeah, there are. Where do you see them?
There was some over on that strange rock feature to the right, but then kind of speckled on the rock that's sort of in the middle bottom as well. But I don't know whether it's pits with sediment or...
Yeah, there are barnacles. Can take a zoom in if we have time.
Yeah, right there. Go ahead.
They could just also be, bases of old corals.
Mm.
It seems to be, they put down a calcium carbonate base, and then when
Yeah.
they die, they break off, debris falls down slope, and the bases are left there sometimes for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Go wide.
We're still looking for that rock somewhere?
Oh no, at this point I'm just,
Okay.
if you want to leave, we can. That's an interesting fish.
Keep going upslope as
Looks
far
like
as it.
We are
Allosaur maybe?
pretty much right on the top here.
Yep. From the waypoint that is centered at the top, we've got about 20 meters.
Yep. Well, keep going up, and as long as if we don't see those stony corals, then that's that. I mean, they're not here anymore. But we're still seeing debris, so
Bridge
I'm
now.
guessing that means there's still something up.
One more
slope.
step, please.
It's a huge debris field there.
Yeah.
It's interesting how there can be so much debris in that one spot, and then the sediment to the left has none.
Yeah.
Bunch of
What do we got
ophiuroids
there?
on.
Huh.
I think that was some old dead sponge material.
And again, for our viewers at home, we are coming towards the peak of this Jarvis Seamount number 1, which is
Whoa.
northwest of Jarvis Island.
I got in the sonar. The high side is on 330 degree bearing.
I can't imagine they're dead. I
Can
can't
we-
imagine these are blown up mountain, uphill.
No. Can we look off to the right a little bit?
Yep.
Another big debris field.
Can we push up there a little bit more?
There you go.
Oh, a couple of Pelagothuria right next to each other.
Might have to change the ship heading or...
Yeah. I'll bring us up there.
You look out at about
Ridge
30
now.
degrees with Argus.
Request 20 meter step bearing 330. Thank you.
Something
that thing?
scooting along on the right.
Scooting. Can
Is that the thing
okay.
right there?
Yeah, okay. So kind of at 4 o'clock, can we zoom in on that cluster of brown stuff on the sponge
Yeah.
there? I think that might be some of the source
Yeah, go
material.
ahead. You interested in the brown patch behind this?
No, the darker patch in front. Yeah. So this looks like a big...
around the sponge.
Yeah, so...
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
so this is... Wow.
It looks manganese encrusted or something.
Yeah. So there was a coral here a long time ago. But that's some serious manganese coating.
So that couldn't have traveled far, it would have broken up.
No, that was probably was in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bridge now.
Very
more step, please.
interesting. Okay. and there's a sponge on it. So
Relative
that kind of like, yeah. Can we go any more due east here, or due northeast?
Northeast.
Maybe 060, something like that. Can we head off in that direction?
Yep. Where's the ship going now?
330.
Yeah, we're going 330. I can start bringing us further eastward. Bridge nav. Request 20 meter step bearing 060. Replace, please.
Would it be fair to say that the density of the other corals has gone down up in this area as well?
Yeah, it has, actually. I think we saw more kind of right on the cusp of the top of this feature.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it me, or does it still seem like it's sloping off to the distance?
I mean, it looks like it.
It's
Yeah.
sloping up a bit ahead of us. Mostly, it looks like it slopes up a bit harder northwest, I guess. It is.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, whichever is upslope, can we head in that direction a little bit?
Yep.
Just so we can say we've reached the top.
Yep. All right, so that won't be. That'll be.
Yeah, more
If
here.
you're heading here.
Yep.
Way
There's a
more
dense
rubble.
rubble field.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm hoping that there's still live stuff here, and that this like wasn't just a sad
Out
case
due
of
north.
corals dying out on a seamount.
Yeah, I can do that. Bridge nav. Request we replace this step with a 20 meter step bearing 000.
So in November, we were in with the Okeanos Explorer exploring off Puerto Rico, and we saw some really weird stuff around 2,000, 2,500 meters or so. On a particular dive, we saw basically old stumps of corals, and maybe 20, 30 centimeters of stump was remaining on the base, but the bases were black, black, black with manganese coating, and there were no corals that resembled anything with that base living. And so it
Whoa.
made me think, like, we're standing in a graveyard in the middle of history here. Like, something was here, maybe an extinct species, maybe a currently living species, but it's just totally been eradicated from this area.
Wow.
Is there a community interest in scooping up these rubble? And can we actually do that? on
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
So are our viewers.
Let's go up a little bit more. I'm guessing, you know, there's still some more rubble up, and before we jump off, we'll see if we can put a scoop, make a grab of some rubble. Maybe we'll be able to identify it.
Is that
It's
a
a
fish?
fish. Yeah, batfish. It's tough with rubble because you don't. It's in various states of degradation.
Right.
You may be able to identify it. From my eye, it looks very much like a mixture of Enelopsemia and Madrepora, both of which are found in this area living today.
Look at the size of that awesome crab.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I love crabs.
Bridge nav.
Zoom
One more
in,
step, please.
I want to keep them.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Handsome animal.
We've also got some folks wondering about the oxygen levels in this area.
Full zoom.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. O2 right now is reading at about 70 micromoles per liter, which is it's not exceptionally low, but it's not high either.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the lower end of the scale in terms of oceanic oxygen levels.
Creeping out.
Oh,
Just getting ready to. Oop,
Oh,
there's
look at that
another
guy.
one of those little
Nope.
worms.
Yeah, it's a little polynoid or
Oh,
scale
maybe
worm.
we'll see. Do they predate those things? Will we see some predation?
Possibly, but probably not while we're here. I think he's got more things to worry about.
Like the giant
Yeah.
creature looming over it with a bunch of lights.
It's the biggest crab he's ever seen.
So these crabs are probably scavengers, although we've
Coming in.
seen them eating, you know, pretty much anything that they can get their hands on. Claws. Claws, rather. Sorry.
Yeah.
Insensitive crab.
What are we seeing in front of its mouth there, moving?
Yeah, those are antennae. It's basically sensing the chemicals and tasting the water. There's probably a better name for them than antennae, but I'll just call them that.
Finger tongues.
There we go.
Bridge now.
You're welcome.
Yep.
One more step, please.
Okay.
All set?
Wow.
No.
What's he doing now?
Goodbye.
Let's move on.
Yeah, it's like, get out of here. I'm walking here.
Move it, Lachinsky.
there's a perfectly straight line in the geology, which might be a small fault that we just passed over.
Should my heading be 105?
You can just turn it to 60 degrees or something for now.
Okay.
And as is
Fish
tradition,
on the right there.
our friend Steve's got the sunset up on the quad view.
This looks a basket star there. Oh, this goes up much
Yeah,
further.
there's a high point here, and there's also another one too. I thought that this would be the higher one.
Yeah, this is, I mean, this is not exactly true to the bathymetry. We're kind of,
No, we're way off the.
I'd say keep going up.
Contours are a suggestion.
Yeah.
Where we're going, we don't need contours.
If you take a look at the quad view now, you can see what we're talking about. It looks like we're coming off of the peak, but we're still going up.
Up, up, and away.
Go up.
Yeah.
Keep going up.
I mean, when it comes down to it, it's a question about resolution.
Yeah.
You can only get so accurate when the cell size is as large as it is.
Yep. We were, I think we were talking about 60-meter grid squares down below, so that's what we've got to work with.
Now my gut would tell me if we're using the same system, that it would be more accurate in shallow water when you were mapping, but maybe that's not correct.
I think I'd see a live colony to the lower right corner. Just at like 4 o'clock right now. There's some color and some white skeleton. Now 1 o'clock-ish. Let me check in there, see what that's
Zoom
all
in
about.
Hmm. I did
Come
not
on,
see
live
that
polyps. Well, you see some more rubble, right?
before. Yeah.
The stuff on the left looks fresher than the stuff on the right, but still.
Is that a snail?
Yeah, it looks like there's a couple
Where?
snails
Bridge
there.
nav.
I see them.
One more step, please.
Okay. Let's go ahead.
Roger.
All right, I'm good. I'm out. I got what I
That's-
needed.
Come on,
Very
live
good.
stuff. Give me some live stuff.
I got a snail. Now give Steve some live coral.
I mean, there's definitely not as much debris in this area, but oh, okay. Spoke too soon.
Wow.
Now, would those, would the larger structures sort of break apart over time and collect in those rubble patches?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we see these things. They could very well be alive, and just with stony corals especially, they get so heavy that they break apart,
Yeah.
and part of them falls down slope, and then they just keep growing and growing and growing
And falling and falling and
and
falling.
falling. Yeah,
And growing and falling and growing.
that's
Very cool.
That's how it goes. And you know, if you're on a continental margin or something, not like a seamount, sometimes what happens is they accumulate these. They're called coral mounds. They accumulate coral rubble, and then the more larvae grow on the rubble, and grows more coral, which deposits more rubble, and they've actually piston cored a couple of these coral mounds, stony coral mounds. Can we zoom in there on that
Go ahead,
golden
video.
fan?
More snails.
Full zoom.
Can't tell if that's different from the one we collected.
I think that is the other one. Was it Acanthogorgia?
Yeah. Can we set up for a collection of this?
Sure,
Coming
yeah.
wide?
Stop ship, Chris.
Bridge nav.
I was on the edge. Based on the polyp density, I think
Request we
it's
hold
probably
position.
more Acanthogorgia, but it definitely wasn't as big as the last one we saw. But we'll grab a piece of this and see what we can do. Identify it, and then make a quick scoot up to as far as this goes, hopefully not much further, and then off to peak 2.
And thank you to the viewers for your support in my seeing of snails. I really appreciate it.
So I'm really liking the 4 to 8 watch, that you guys have a very active, interactive audience. I
Yeah.
feel like in the middle of the night we're
Give me a second
struggling.
here.
Yeah.
Move the
Well, the
model
4 a.m. to 8 a.m. is a little less.
Yeah, definitely.
At least in the beginning, it picks up.
Definitely a bit livelier.
Were
But-
you frantically hitting the highlight button when we saw those snails?
I did put a highlight in. Mainly so that I can get access to it.
Yeah.
But you know I'm going to be throwing those captures in my folder too.
What's the folder called? Snails?
Captures.
Oh, I thought it was called
Snail mail.
snails.
Oh no, I do have lots of snail pictures on my computer, but... And slugs. And cephalopods. And chitons. And bivalves. So are we thinking that this is the species of coral that would have those crown of thorns when they close up?
Yeah, that's what we're thinking. So we see 2 yellow fans. We've seen 2 yellow fans on this dive. One was a plexaurid. It had a much lower density of polyps and didn't have obvious spines on the tips of the polyps.
Mm-hmm.
This, based on the density of the polyps, the morphology of the polyps, is likely that other yellow branching fan, other Gorgonian. So we're gonna take, this one's pretty small, so probably just snip it at the base.
Could we get a tight zoom before we sample?
Roger.
Could we also go all in?
Pull zoom.
All right.
Sorry.
We're set here, thank you.
Okay.
Are the lasers on?
Oh, I think they are. Yeah. You want to zoom again?
Just right there is good. Okay, we're good.
That squat lobster has a cool little hole there.
They've got lots of good hiding places in this geology.
Just come wide for a minute. See, yeah, just hold it there for a minute. Okay, now you can come in.
Yep. I think it's Acanthogorgia.
All right, so we'd like to target starboard biobox B, the second back small compartment.
Roger.
So one of the interesting things about Acanthogorgia, we'll confirm when we get it in the lab, but one of the cool things about this group is that unlike the Plexaurids, which are the other yellow fans we've been seeing, the way that the sclerites, the small calcium carbonate shards that give the coral some rigidity,
Yep.
are arranged in the polyp, they can't contract their polyp as efficiently, so they kind of give them a, it kind of gives them a very tall and spiny polyp shape if you look at it under the microscope. Very nice.
Now, can you drop a target here? That's 066.
Roger.
And I don't know for sure about those snails, but I'm thinking probably turrets of some sort, but I don't know. I only saw them for a moment.
All right, we can move the ship.
Roger that. Bridge nav. One more step, please.
And a shout out to our viewers writing in that they've been watching every dive from start to finish, saying that we definitely need some rest and you probably need some rest as well. But thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, don't forget to eat.
And, you know, our watchly reminder that you can actually rewind these live feeds up to 12 hours on nautiluslive.org. And in a few days, what's going to be available on YouTube, you guys?
This
The
watch.
full dive.
Full dive recordings of
Just
this watch. And the area that we're in around Jarvis Island is part of the Pacific Remote Islands